Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, so for nearly 6 years, millions of us watched Jentzen and Elliana basically grow up on camera. Young teenagers to full-blown adults, birthday, trips, career milestone, all of it. Out in the open for anyone to see. To a lot of fans, they didn't feel like just another influencer couple. They felt permanent, which is exactly why, when they both confirmed the breakup, the internet did not take it well. Some people flat out refused believe it was real. Others were in their comment section crying like they lost a friend. And once you actually sit down and listen to everything both of them said carefully all the way through, you realize this wasn't some messy public blog. It was something a lot quieter and honestly a lot sadder than that. So today we are breaking down exactly what this said, what it might mean, why fans are reacting the way they are, and what this whole thing says about growing up in front of an audience. Grab a drink, get comfortable because we are going deep on this one. Let's get into it. Quick context for anyone who just tuning in. According to Jentzen, they started dating at 13 and 14. Sit with that for a second. That's not a few months of puppy love. That's basically the entire adolescence spent together. Think about what you were at 13 versus who you are at 20. Your whole personality shifts. Your goals shift, your friend group changes, your priorities change, and they had to do all of that growing up while millions of strangers were watching, commenting, shipping them, and building entire fan pages around the relationship. That's an insane amount of pressure for two people who were still teenagers when it started. So yeah, of course, this broke the internet. Now let's start with Eliana.
Yes, we've broken up. I would like to start this off by saying Jensen and I are both going through a lot right now, so please respect us and our privacy. We're both just trying to cope with this.
You can hear it in her voice immediately. This was not easy for her to record. She says there was really no easy way to make this video, which tells you everything about how much she was dreading it. She confronts the breakup, then almost immediately pivots to ask fans to respect their privacy, because they're both going through it right now. Here's what actually caught my attention. Though she didn't spend her time explaining what went wrong, she spends it thanking her fans, the edits, the years of comments, the support. She even asked people not to delete old fan edits because those memories will mean something to her. To me, that's not a throwaway line. That tells me she doesn't want people rewriting the last 6 years as some kind of lie. It ended sure, but she's not pretending it wasn't real. And she's not asking people to erase it either. She says there'll always be beautiful memory that helped shape who she is today. And honestly, the line stuck with me. Because breakup culture online is brutal. The second the couple splits, fans started acting like every happy moment was staged, like it was all content, and like none of it was real. But nothing in what Eliana said supports the narrative at all. Then comes the line everyone's been screenshotting. I've made mistakes, he's made mistakes, we're not perfect. And then there was hurt. She never able to get over. Notice what she does not do here. She doesn't say what happened. She doesn't point a finger at him. She just says there was hurt and leaves it there. That could mean 100 different things, and because to elaborate she could not to elaborate, I genuinely don't think it's our place to fill the blanks for her. That's the temptation with these videos, right? Our brains want a full story with a clear cause, but she didn't give us one, and I'll argue I'll argue that's intentional. She closed by asking fans not to send hate to anyone, and says Jensen will always have a place in her heart. Now Jensen's side, different energy entirely.
Unfortunately, Elliana and I are no longer together. We broke up on May 31st, and then a day later, we actually had to go on a 2-week trip to China together.
He opens by saying he wanted people to hear the truth from him instead of piecing it together from rumors, which fair given how fast this stuff spreads once one clip gets taken out of context. He actually gives us a timeline. They broke up May 31st and then they had to fly to China together the very next day for 2 weeks trip. Let that sink in. You end one of the biggest relationships of your life, and less than 24 hours later, you are on a plane with that person for 2 weeks of work, probably smiling for cameras the entire time. I genuinely cannot imagine how brutal that must have been for both of them. Then the line that became the headline of this whole thing. His trust was broken, and that's ultimately why he ended things. But, and this matters, he doesn't stop there and let that hang in the air as an accusation. He immediately follows it up by reminding everyone that nobody is perfect, not him, not her. They grew up together. That's framing changes everything because he's not trying to win the internet's sympathy by painting himself as a victim. He's acknowledging this is complicated and that he is not blameless either. I respect the restraint from both of them. Here in 2026, it would have been so easy to leak text, drops, let me tell you what happened, video, fight for narrative, turn it into a whole saga with receipts. Neither of them did that. They both kept the private stuff private, which, if we're being honest, is rarer than it should be in the industry. Putting them side by side, the overlap is honestly bigger than the differences. Both admit mistakes were made. Both say the relationship mattered deeply. Both explicitly ask fans not to send hate. Neither one calls the other a bad person, which for two people who just went through a very public breakup is genuinely rare. The difference is really just emphasizes Eliana leans into grief and gratitude, Jensen leans into a trust being broken. But here's the thing, those two things aren't in conflict. Someone just genuinely felt hurt. Someone else can genuinely feel their trust was broken. Both can be true at the same time. Relationships almost never come down to one clean villain and one clean victim, and nothing is either of those statements suggests this one is any different. And notice, neither of them sounds angry. They sound sad. That's real distinction, and I think it's the most important detail in the whole story. Anger comes with blame, sadness comes with grief, and these two videos read a lot more like a grief than a fight. Because think about what they're actually losing here. When you've spent 6 years with someone through your teenage years, they're stitched into almost every memory you have. Birthday, trips, holidays, your entire friend group, career milestone, inside jokes nobody else will ever understand. Losing that isn't just a boyfriend or girlfriend. It's losing the entire shape of your day-to-day life. That's so much bigger adjustment than people online tend to give it credit for. Something else worth mentioning, after Jensen posted this video, Eliana left a comment underneath it that will read, I will always be incredibly grateful to you, Jensen, says Eliana. That's a short comment, but it says a lot without saying much at all. Even after everything, even after a breakup this public and this emotional, public she chose gratitude publicly instead of anger or silence. Doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Clearly it did, based on our own video. But it tells you which memories she's choosing to hold on to going forward. I think the comment matches the tone of both videos perfectly. Neither of them tried to wear another down. Both acknowledged mistakes. Both acknowledged years of real memories. That's a much more mature way to close this chapter than turning it into a public fight for sympathy. Now let's talk about the reaction because it's been massive. Scroll through the comments on either video, you'll see thousands of people saying you can't believe it actually over. Some are convinced it's not real or that it's some kind of stunt, which understandable skepticism given how much manufactured drama exists in this space. But nothing is either statement suggests that. Others are posting nothing but crying emojis, saying their childhood feels like it's ending, saying they grew up watching these two together. That reaction makes sense when you think about it. For a lot of fans, Eliana and Jensen weren't just a couple they followed. They were a constant, something you could check it on for years and it would still be there. When a relationship likes that end, it doesn't just affect the two people in it. It affects an entire audience that builds a small recurring piece of their own life around watching that relationship exist. But here's the most important part. Both of them asked for the small specific thing, respect. No hate directed at either of them, and continued support for both of them individually going forward. I think that honestly the simplest, least complicated thing fans can actually do here. Wherever your personal read on the breakup is, that's the one request both of them made clearly and directly. At the end of the day, we're probably never going to know every single detail of what happened between them. And that's genuinely okay. Not everyone has to become public. Not everything has to become public just because two people happen to know online. Some things are allowed to kept private, even for creators who shared their lives with an audience for years. Sometimes the healthiest ending is exactly what we saw here: acknowledge the mistakes, appreciate the good years, and walk away separately without dragging each other through it publicly. That's what both of their statements seem to encourage. And honestly, that's what I hope actually happens for both of them going forward. Whatever comes next for Jensen and Eliana individually, I genuinely hope they both get the space to heal, the space to grow into whoever they are becoming outside of this relationship and eventually find happiness on their own paths. That's it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But seriously, keep the discussion respectful. These are two real people going through something genuinely difficult in front of millions of people, and that's not an easy thing to do. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe for more commentary like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye.